Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. Prevention is better than cure. How often have you heard people say that phrase as a means of warning? And when it comes to issues such as sexual harassment, what might be considered a friendly gesture for one individual could be deemed harassment for another. Government has been proactive in instituting the Sexual Harassment, Protection and Prevention Act 2021, which took effect on July 3, 2023. Since then, employers and institution heads have been mandated to generate a sexual harassment policy. The Bureau of Gender Affairs has been assisting employers with this endeavor. And here to tell us more about this sensitization program is Principal Director for Gender Affairs in the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Sharon Coburn Robinson. Welcome to the program, Lady Coburn Robinson.
Thank you, Theodore.
All right, let's jump right into getting the facts. So, Sexual Harassment, Protection and Prevention Act 2021. What is that?
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
It is,
okay.
Because for us it's really exciting because we've been struggling with this for many years.
Right.
And we just wanted it to come out and see the light of day.
Right.
So the fact that the minister called it on July 3, 2023 for us is awesome because it now means that we can actually do something about those number of cases that were languishing for years and those persons who were suffering in silence and did not have a mechanism that they could use to get redress.
So this isn't an update, this is new.
This is new.
Brand new.
Yes.
Okay.
Brand new.
Okay.
It started with the anti-sexual harassment workplace policy, which was developed to make sure that persons understand that sexual harassment is something that is not tolerated and what forms of redress. So this is now bringing into being what we were discussing and bringing out in the policy all along.
Understood. Now, when I'm going to ask the layman's question, when people say sexual harassment, it tends to speak to primarily, in some people's minds, women alone. Who does this policy cover?
It is gender neutral, Theodore, meaning it covers men and women.
Men experience sexual harassment?
Oh, absolutely. And even now, more men are reporting cases of sexual harassment done to them by another male or by a female. It could be same-sex harassment or the other sex.
Right.
The other sex harassing. Sometimes it's the supervisor or it's on the same level. Sometimes it's a subordinate.
You know, that's fascinating because with this policy and the actions which you will describe, it seems as if it formalizes what is and what isn't and helps people to understand what is accepted and what isn't. Am I getting that right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Because the person who is in charge, and this legislation speaks definitively to that, heads of organizations have that direct responsibility to bring across this information to their members, to let them know that this is something that has come, it's here, and you must ensure that you do not sexually harass anyone. And just in case you do, this is what exists.
There are legal measures now.
Legal measures, yes.
So can you give us a synopsis of the main features of the Act? Like they do.
Certainly. So perhaps I need to talk about the definition first of all.
Please. Just
in case anybody is wondering what exactly constitutes sexual harassment.
Right.
And so we have a very lengthy definition in the Act itself, but I'll just give you a nutshell 101. It's really unwanted, unwelcome behavior or conduct of a sexual nature that makes a person feel demeaning or demeaned or humiliated or you feel uncomfortable in your skin, like you this kind of look the person gives you or this touch that is unwelcome, and you actually feel like this person is more than just it's not a friendly camaraderie, like just interchange between persons on the job or in an institution or in a landlord-tenant situation, but the person has this motive that makes you uncomfortable. When that happens, then you can identify it as, and the best thing to do is to let the person know that you do not welcome and you do not appreciate. If you can't, then you have to get somebody to assist you.
And this isn't just touch. This speaks to what you say as well.
It's a number of things. It can be groping and groping on parts of the body. It could be physical touching. Sometimes it's non-verbal. So the signals are sent, winking, the eye, licking of the lips. Sometimes it's pornographic material or text that are sent. It's so many things that persons can use to actually convey to you that they want to have. It's a sexual overture that they're passing on to you.
Right. So the main features, what are some of the things we are standouts in the Act?
the definition, first of all, and then there's a section 3 that speaks to the responsibility of the persons in charge of organizations, institutions, to make it known to all parties that sexual harassment is something that is not welcome and something that is not going to be tolerated. The law speaks definitively to that. So they have that responsibility to bring to the fore a statement or a policy that they have crafted. And if they can't do it, which in some cases they have identified they have never done it before, we provide assistance through a sexual harassment investigation unit and officers who actually go to these spaces on invitation, or we invite ourselves. Sometime we write to them to say, can we come in and do a sensitization session? And that allows them to craft something that says, this is what we're using based on what the legislation is saying, to make sure that if you just get a little cranky in your head at some point and think you should carry out an act of sexual harassment, you'll understand that the policy states definitively that there's a no-no. And if it happens, here are the steps that are involved in it.
No, I find this fascinating. So it's not just about what happens if it happens, but it's also about heading it off before it happens, prevention and cure. So there must be training, sensitization of staff members.
Absolutely.
Now, walk me through the process based on the act.
For the sensitization?
No, for once an individual reports an instance or instances of sexual harassment, what happens?
The first thing is that it must be brought to the attention of the HR.
Right.
So if you have an HR department in your space, if you are in a workplace, a formal workplace, then you take that to your HR, and that should be done, let us say, as quickly as possible. Now, if you are so aggrieved or so traumatized that you can't take it forward right away, then certainly by the time you get sober enough to say, I now need to report this, you should report it as quickly as possible.
And how are you allowed to report?
You can do it verbally. You can speak to somebody in the HR, sit with them and express how you feel and just give a full report. With all the details, where it happened, when it happened, if there was a witness there, if there were other parties involved, if it has happened before, if you've seen this person getting into altercations such as those in previous spaces, how you felt, what was done, did you say anything, was there a confrontation, or were you so traumatized you said nothing? What was your response? Did you let the person know that you are not for it, or did you give mixed signals? Were you smiling and looking as if you're unsure? So all of those things are going to be included in the report. Once that is taken, HR has 2 days or 48 hours
2 days,
to make sure that the person who carried out the action is aware that this report has been lodged. And then within 14 days to start the investigation. So they can call in the parties, aggrieved parties, to have the conversation about what happened. If there were witnesses, other persons on the job who saw or witnessed or heard what had happened, then if they are okay, because it's not something that's mandatory, it's strongly encouraged, but it's not mandatory, for those persons to come forward and share their stories as well. That is done so that the persons who have been brought forward, the aggrieved as well as the aggressor, have an opportunity to speak freely about what happened. If it is that there is a committee in place, like a grievance committee or some committee, a HR committee, then you can take that to the committee and have that hearing done if both parties are fine with it. If one party, for example, the aggrieved, feels that, he or she, because it could be a female or it could be a male based on the fact that it's gender neutral. If this person feels they don't want to go through that, they might not want to sit through a conversation, because it might be that it was a superior and they feel that if they carry this out, they're going to have implications and repercussions and reprisals and so on. So they might not want to go through that. If that's the case, then it can be done in camera. So you have one party, it's just like a caucus, one party just having a discussion with HR, the other party having a discussion with HR, and you come to a verbal agreement. If that cannot work, there's stalemate. Nobody's budging.
No give, no take.
Yes, and persons are just hanging on to their story to say, look, I did not know she was offended or he was offended because what I saw was mixed signals.
It sounds like you're about to use the T word.
Absolutely.
Tribunal.
Yes.
But we're going to go to a break right now. We'll continue our discussion right after this. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Get the Facts. We're continuing our discussion on the sensitization sessions, but the whole act as well, being offered by the Bureau of Gender Affairs on the Sexual Harassment Act. Our guest is Principal Director at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Sharon Coburn Robinson. Lady Coburn Robinson, we were just about to speak about the tribunal. You were taking us through the process. We had reached the point where we had done the consultations. Both parties were brought together, but it wasn't working out.
Yes. So we now move to the tribunal, which is where the hearing takes place.
Right.
And the hearing is where both parties sit before a very learned panel, tribunal. I tell you the composition really fast.
Right.
It's 4 trained mediators.
Okay.
Trained certified mediators, 4 attorneys at law, and then you have another 6 groups of persons from different sectors, labor representation, gender affairs, somebody who knows about rent tenant, and so on. You select from that a party of 3.
Okay.
So each panel has 3.
Based on who is bringing the
Who is bringing the case.
Okay.
The expertise will come based on who is bringing the case. And they are responsible to be the major adjudicating body for this sexual harassment. Once they look at the report that was taken and they listen to the case, the arguments that are put forward, they'll be able to do a judgment, and based on the penalties that are outlined in the law, they'll be able to apply accordingly.
So we really are seeing the benefit of having an act put down in law.
Absolutely.
Penalties are prescribed, processes are prescribed. Yes. Nobody has to feel their way through the dark. Which is something you mentioned. Some organizations have said, we don't know how to craft this thing. Now, I understand that the Bureau of Gender Entertainment, the Bureau of Gender Affairs is doing sensitization sessions for employers and heads of institutions.
Absolutely.
What are these sessions about?
They're exciting sessions, Theodore.
All right.
Because what they do is to just do a quick overview on sexual harassment, what it is, so that there's a demystifying of it for those who probably thought it was in the sky, to bring it down to earth.
Okay.
And then to say, this is what it is, this is what it's not. Because there are some things in the workplace that are just friendly camaraderie, conversation between persons. The sexual harassment legislation is not meant to shut down camaraderie in the workplace. Let's get that clear.
Right.
Because a lot of persons are saying, so that means I won't be able to find my wife or my husband on the job.
Right.
That's not the case.
Right.
You still be able to, because when you are looking for a relationship, it's different from when you are sexually harassing somebody, because the motive is totally different.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The motive is you like this person and you express to this person, the person understands that there is an intention, and if there is any merit to it, if there's anything that's going to come out of it, then you will know.
So there's a place for this stuff.
But the sexual harassment now is when somebody has a power dynamic where they think that, you look a particular way and they want to have a sexual relationship with you, or they want to make a sexual overture, but you are not okay with it. And so you object, whether physically or, sometimes nonverbal, in nonverbal manners, but the person insists and continues to persist, even though there is an obvious lack of interest.
Forcing of attention.
Now that's taking the person's right to say, I notice that you are not up for it, but I'm still going to persist anyway. Perhaps I'm your supervisor, and if you don't do this, then you might not get the promotion, you might not get the extra increase that you need, something that's a tit for tat. Or it's a poisoned environment, because you have 2 types. You have the one that is really the person just trying to use their advantage or their power to get something from it.
Right.
That's a tit for tat. Or it could be a poisoned work environment. So you're in this space, Theodore, and you see persons around you carrying out this thing, somebody's doing something to somebody, and it affects you, but you can't say anything because you're not sure how it is going to be received. And so you might be there suffering in silence until you open your mouth or you write it and share it with somebody, and then there's an investigation.
Understood. Now, you said that they're offering these sessions.
Yes.
Right? Is there like these people can access it, those can't?
It's open to everyone.
Every entity.
Because of the fact the law says in Section 3 that all workspaces should have this in place.
Okay.
And so all of the persons in charge have that responsibility to make sure that the sensitization is held. And so we've been mandated to sensitize public sector, private sector, community-based, faith-based, human interest groups, and just about everybody who wouldn't have a reason to know about the legislation, simply because we want to make sure nobody suffers a case of sexual harassment.
So the BJ is making themselves available.
Absolutely.
What's the take-up been like so far?
So we've had over 15,000 persons sensitized, and that's just between 2019 to today.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
That's a big number. So that's good.
Yes.
Okay.
It could be more. I mean, if we
Yes.
had more staff, because that's a small unit that we're talking about of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is there's the policy and research unit that has 4 persons who are doing sessions as well, including males.
Right.
So we have male doing session and we have females doing sessions.
Okay. And the response, has it been like a
Overwhelming,
moment for people?
overwhelming. Sometimes we have to come up for air
Yeah.
because of the number, back-to-back sessions.
All right.
Like this afternoon, I have a webinar with Mind, and sometimes I have 3 sessions for the day.
Right.
Yes, because there's a demand for it, and once persons get an idea of why it's important, they try to sensitize all their staff. The HR members and the group, that department or division is responsible to make sure that all the staff members are sensitized.
Got you.
Yes.
And BGA will be offering this for the foreseeable future.
Absolutely. And because we know we don't exist in a silo, Theodore, we have persons out there who are also a part of this group that we use to sensitize.
Right.
They are trained they're trained and certified, and so they can actually do the sensitization sessions as well. So if public sector or the private sector, because the private sector might have more money, and they would want to pay to have a little intimate session, then we have persons that we can introduce to them as consultants. They will go and do these sessions over a period. Could be a residential space. They go out for 2 days. They could go on a retreat, for example, to the North Coast and have the sessions done.
Nice.
Yes.
We are out of time, but I don't want us to leave without giving you 10 seconds to speak directly to our audience. Employers, employees, they're all here, they're watching.
Okay.
Give them a word.
So, sexual harassment is a very big issue, a very vexed issue. We are more focused on the outcomes. The outcomes are persons wanting to come to work because they are coming to a safe environment that is free from sexual harassment, a workplace that will allow them to feel productive, and they will feel as if they're valued and their contribution is recognized, and that they will have that sense of camaraderie with their work, the persons in their workspace, their colleagues, and they will be able to, be able to contribute to national development. That's the aim of just being here and just being a part of the public sector. The private sector is no less. They also have a role to play, and they have been doing exceptionally well. Just recently, we had a Respect at Work that was launched, and we're a part of that as well. And we want to say, if you respect each other in the workspace, that will allow for healthy relationships and safe spaces.
Thank you so much. This has been Get the Facts. Our guest was Principal Director for Gender Affairs in the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Sharon Coburn Robinson. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.